lists, probably give an extension. It was the same thing with the BVN. You can't close your eyes or ears to certain things. Now, with regard to this list, indeed it has been coming. And like I said, it should have come earlier. But probably in the best wisdom of the government, it would have been rash to disclose it much earlier. But it has been disclosed. And that took political will, because this has never happened in the history of this country. It shows we are making progress in the fight against corruption.
Mr. Hamza, when you talk about acting rash and acting tactfully, some would make the argument that it's actually quite the opposite, that if you look at how the list was named, I mean, it's after a PDP publicity secretary speaks, that a list of PDP, alleged PDP looters is put out. Is that not rash behavior?
It was rather mind-boggling and baffling for the PDP to behave as if Nigerians have forgotten. Now, basically what the minister did was just to list out all the allegations that have already been in circulation in the media, awash in the media. Everybody knew. But it was as if there was sort of dementia, selective dementia. PDP were trying to use that for political purposes, and then the government decided to refresh the minds of Nigerians that, see, these allegations have already been in circulation. No allegation was new on that list. None of the allegations was new. And I would like to go back to the fact that it was an alleged list of looters, not list of looters.
So on the one hand, you're claiming that this is an unprecedented achievement of a government. It's exposing. On the other hand, you're saying that they're telling us what we already know.
It shows political will. It shows political will. And if it takes putting out daily reminder to the PDP and to Nigerians of the atrocities that have been committed in the past, if that is what it takes to keep the fight against corruption ongoing, then so be it.
What do we say to those who say to the APC that within your ranks are members of our own party, people who used to be members of our party, who now seem to be saints because they have now joined your own political party?
Now, Mokpe, even on the list that was released, there are a number of PDP personalities that are either facing trial or who have faced allegations of corruption, who are not on that list. Basically, why? Basically because the list is contextualized. It is tied to the efforts of this present government at fighting corruption. Because like I can tell you, there's a big weak aspirant of one of the big political parties who's also facing corruption allegations, who is not on the list, simply because his own trial began under the previous administration.
Mr. Hams, let me get you clearly.
But he's also a PDP person.
Are you saying that the APC is only fighting corruption within the PDP?
Not at all. Not at all. The PDP dared the APC, and they were trying to make or score a cheap political point, and it became imperative to remind them of all they have done. Basically, that's it. It was released within a context.
So let me ask.
So the nuances must be appreciated.
Mr. Hamza, let me just ask you. You know, if this release, now you have said obviously here that this is just a rehash of what we already know. There's nothing new here. If that is the case, if these are simply just kind of a dissemination of information we already know, then why wasn't that information disseminated by the APC, by the spokesman Bolaji Abdullahi? Why the federal government?
The media principally failed in its responsibility of asking the right questions. When the publicity secretary was daring the government to release the list, the logical thing to have been done was to confront him with all the allegations already in the media. Your national chairman, your financial secretary, your former publicity secretary, what do you have to say about that? But he was given an easy ride. So the media is actually failing in its responsibility. It doesn't use data, it doesn't use facts. It runs around for news stories.
You're not answering my question,
Yes,
Mr. Hamza. I'm asking you a very clear question.
Go ahead.
If the PDP makes an allegation, common practice is that it would be the APC that would respond, particularly with information that you say is already widely available. Why was it the federal government and not the APC that responded? Because ultimately, the federal government is responsible for the entire nation, not so, which means that it should not be partisan, right?
Because corruption is an issue of national interest, number one. The fight against corruption is being fought by the government. Now it's about taking the bull by the horn. There is nothing inhibiting the federal government from making the statement it made. It was showing you the level of seriousness it takes the fight against corruption with. That's the level of seriousness the federal government takes the fight against corruption. Basically, that's it. APC could have. Federal government can, and so it did. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think it's also very important to say, so that we do not suffer from the selective amnesia, which you've talked about, that several times, more than once, the media has asked the question, has put the question to the PDP about their members who are currently in court on cases of alleged corruption. And we have gotten a response.